Hello, my name is Chris Lee. My student number is S224817878. This is task 1.1p, and we're covering selection and casting. To quickly rattle off some definitions before we get started, the idea behind selection is that it's a process of choosing which path we want to execute based on a set of conditions. We demonstrate this in a couple of ways. The first is with if-else statements. They use Boolean conditions to determine which path to select. And the other is with switch statements, and they're going to take a value and try and match it from a list of options. It's going to choose a path from there. For casting, the idea behind that is that we're taking one data type and converting it into another. So it's all reasonably simple stuff. So I'll work through some programs as some examples. The first example I want to walk through is the microwave one. To demonstrate this program, we'll be using the debugger. So we can launch that with the function F11. Now, in this bottom left pane here, we can add variables and their values to a watch list. And the idea is that as we move through this program and as we execute, it's going to track our values down here. So the program itself is pretty simple. We're just prompting a user and we're getting some values to enter. Here they're getting the number of items they want to microwave. That's going to be a whole number, so that's just an integer. So let's say we'll enter 5. Now we're prompting them again for a time. That's going to be a double because that doesn't have to be a whole number. There's my console. And we'll give it 2.75. Now this is the first selection statement. This was our Boolean condition that I was telling you about. So we're checking if the time is less than or equal to 0. And down here in this left pane, we know that we gave a time value of 2.75. So we are going to execute the else condition here because it's greater than 0. And now we're moving to the switch. And this is the number of items that the user has entered. And we're going to choose a path based on the input that they gave. Now, we gave a value of 5. So it's going to check every statement in here and determine the possible match. There isn't one. So it's going to revert to the default behavior, and it's going to say the maximum number of items is 3. It's going to break, and our program stops executing there, and that's the end. For a casting example, I'm going to demonstrate the do casting program. This one's pretty simple, but it has some cool values that we can demonstrate. Now, I've played around with this before, so there's probably going to be a bunch of them already listed here. Same thing, we're stepping into. We've declared some variables and we've given them a value. They're whole numbers, so they're just integers. We're trying to find the average, so we're dividing an integer by an integer. So even though we know mathematically that that number will be 3.4, we're dividing integers, which is whole numbers, so it's just going to give us a 3. Now, we attempted to get around this by declaring a double, and then we still divide two integers. A double can hold an integer just fine, it'd be 0.0 or something, so we can even look down here. It's not going to make much of a difference. It's not really giving us the behavior that we expect. So what we do here is we're casting, right? So we've declared another double, and we have our two integers here. This is going to be our target type, this in brackets double. This is our target variable. And now when we perform that arithmetic, we get 3.4 down the bottom. Some cool behavior here is that we could just as easily write this. As far as I'm aware, that is fine, that's functional, but it's redundant. To the best of my knowledge, you only need to do one. When we cast an integer to a double and then divide another integer, it's just going to automatically promote the other integer to a double there. So I'll just quickly run through that to make sure that that still works. And it does, so it's the same thing. So that works, but it's kind of redundant. We only need to cast the one, and C# will take care of the rest of it for us. Thank you.